Today, we will discuss some topics that have been going on, such as YungSlime and FrankB arrested after setting up and robbing their good man. Florida man comes to DMV, robs Tank Davis and catches a body. And we will also get into YungMaaly gets robbed for his chain. The first topic we will get into is YungMaaly gets robbed for his chain. Recently, YungMaaly would go to Instagram and post a PSA and a video of him drunk saying that he needs his chain back ASAP and that his men need to stop playing with him. YungMaaly would post and say, "If my chain don't pop up by tomorrow, just remember who y'all playing with this for anybody. Now y'all going too far my grandfather graveyard. I ain't playing now. Test this shit." 11 hours would go by, and YungMaaly would still be chainless. Do you think DC rappers be too loose of the liquor and easy to backdoor? The streets would react to YungMaaly getting slimed out.
Well, sure, whoever got my chain, just DM me and say you got my chain. Cause if it pop up on some shit like you trying to say you took it, I promise you it's not gonna end out. It's not gonna end good. I'm just telling you. Once I sober up, y'all know not to play me while I'm sober. I'm sure all this drunk shit, y'all be trying me while I'm drunk. On my grandfather, y'all be trying me. Once I sober up, y'all know what the f going on. Don't on my grandfather, just stop playing with me. That's all I'm saying. Just please stop playing with me. I'm asking y'all nicely. Please stop playing with me, please.
The next topic we will get into is Florida man comes to DMV. Recently, a Florida man would be arrested for a Fort Washington homicide, and this would be the same guy that was arrested 2 years ago for burglarizing celebrity boxer Tank Davis' mansion. The article on the Florida man's arrest would say, "Man charged in Fort Washington deadly shooting, police say." Police said Monday that a man has been charged in connection with a deadly shooting that happened nearly a month ago in Fort Washington. The Prince George's County Police Department, PGPD, said 23-year-old Tafari Clausel was arrested for the murder of 21-year-old Cornelius Wilson. Charges against Clausel stem from a shooting that broke out in the 2800 block of Wood Hollow Terrace at around 12:20 a.m. on May 19th. Prince George's County officers found Wilson outside in the area, suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. PGPD said Clausel and Wilson knew each other and were involved in an ongoing dispute. He was charged with first-degree murder and related charges. He's in custody in Florida on unrelated charges, where he is pending extradition back to Maryland.
Two men arrested in burglary at mansion of Baltimore boxing champion Gervonta Davis. The high-definition surveillance cameras captured it all. Three perpetrators used a hammer and doorstopper to smash their way into the mansion on Lemongrass Drive in the Parkland Golf and Country. Inside, they found the bowl with car keys and gained access to two garages that contained 5 luxury vehicles: a 2020 Lamborghini Urus, a 2022 Ferrari SF90, a 2021 Mercedes AMG GT, a 2022 Mercedes Maybach, and a 2022 Dodge Charger Hellcat. They eventually took off with the vehicles and stole other belongings, deputies alleged, including clothes, bags, and electronics. The total loss was about $2 million. The Broward County Sheriff's Office has now arrested 2 men in connection to the burglary at that home in Parkland, Florida. It belongs to Baltimore boxing champion Gervonta Tank Davis. John Mariel Johnson, 21 years old, of Lauderdale Lakes, Florida, and Tafari Clausel, 21, of North Lauderdale, Florida, face charges including burglary, grand theft, and grand theft auto. They're being held without bond in the Joseph V. Conti facility in Pompano Beach, Florida. Davis, 28 years old, is currently incarcerated after Baltimore Circuit Judge Althea M. Handy revoked his home detention sentence on June 1st for a 2020 hit and run after learning that he was staying without court permission at a Four Seasons hotel and a $3.4 million condo that he bought in Silo Point. The whole point is, I didn't want him to be sitting by the pool in a spa, Handy said. Michael Tomko, Davis's attorney at the time, reported after the hearing that his client's mansion was burglarized and ransacked, and their personal belongings, including prize boxing regalia and several collector cars, were stolen. Alright guys, well, this is pretty explosive stuff here. Law enforcement reported the following allegations in court documents. The burglary took place at about 1:30 a.m. on June 2nd. 3 people ransacked the house and stole various bags and clothes. The perpetrators found car keys in a bowl and used them to get into the 2 garages at the house, which contained 5 cars. Surveillance cameras captured Johnson taking off in the Lamborghini. Detectives used various investigative techniques and learned that the burglars met up after stealing the vehicles at a racetrack gas station in Lauderdale Lakes after the crime. Security cameras recorded Johnson getting out of the Hellcat, going into the convenience store and buying items. He then got into the Mercedes. At about 5:45 a.m., Johnson went back to the mansion and stole the Ferrari. Law enforcement tried to stop the car, but he took off. Deputies identified Johnson as the possible suspect and tried to pull him over on June 14th for a tinted front windshield violation. He drove off, but law enforcement quickly apprehended him. In an interview, Johnson admitted to the investigators that he entered the mansion through the second door balcony. He reported that he used a hammer to smash the glass of the bathroom and stole clothes and the Lamborghini. Later, Johnson told detectives he came back and took the Ferrari. He identified himself in security videos from the home and gas station. Meanwhile, Clausel took clothes, bags, and electronics and helped other burglars load up the stolen items in the vehicles. He drove off in the Mercedes AMG GT. Surveillance video showed Clausel arriving and getting out of that car at the racetrack gas station. He eventually came back in the Hellcat. Deputies later conducted a traffic stop and took Clausel into custody. Clausel identified himself on surveillance video throwing a stone at the balcony door window of the mansion.
And for the last topic we will discuss, YungSlime and FrankB arrested. Recently, some paperwork would release on a recent YungSlime and FrankB arrest, and they would be charged with armed robbery and burglary after backdooring their good man with a female they knew named Zoe. The paperwork would say, on Wednesday, March 12, 2025, detectives from the 6th District and from the Carjacking Task Force responded to 2046 Fort Davis Street Southeast, Washington, D.C., in reference to an alleged armed robbery and burglary. Detectives met with and identified the complainants, who shall be referred to as Complainant 1 and Complainant 2. Complainant 1 reported that its apartment, that is shared with Complainant 2, was broken into and items from within were stolen to include designer jackets, designer handbags, and a safe containing $55,200 in U.S. currency, which belonged to both complainants. During the interview, Complainant 1 reported that IT was arriving home from work on the day of the offense and observed Complainant 2 speaking to two subjects, later identified as the suspects. Complainant 1 recognized both of the suspects as being from the neighborhood and associated with a female IT knew as Zoe. Complainant 1 further advised that Zoe lives at 2044 Fort Davis Street, Southeast in apartment 202. Complainant 1 continued into IT's apartment and observed that it was in disarray. Complainant 1 went back outside and attempted to speak to Complainant 2 about what happened, when IT found Complainant 2's cell phone on the ground and observed Complainant 2 now in a physical confrontation with both suspects. Complainant 1 stated that these were the same suspects that IT just observed Complainant 2 previously conversing with when IT came home. Detectives interviewed Complainant 2, who initially was reluctant to provide an account of what transpired, and stated that IT was robbed by two suspects for IT's North Face jacket. Complainant 2 advised that both suspects were armed with guns. Initially, Complainant 2 advised that the suspects went by the nicknames of YungSlime and Drizzy, who were also rappers. Furthermore, Complainant 2 reported that the same suspects who robbed IT were the same ones that broke into the apartment that IT shares with Complainant 1 and stole the previous mentioned clothing items and U.S. currency. At the time of this report, detectives conducted a preliminary review of surveillance footage from the apartment complex, and based upon the interaction between Complainant 2 and the suspects, it appeared that they were more familiar with each other than what IT was reporting. A report for pending investigation was taken until detectives could gather additional information. On Wednesday, March 26, 2025, Complainant 2 was interviewed again by detectives from the 6th District. Complainant 2 provided further details into the events that took place on March 12, 2025. Complainant 2 stated that IT left work in the morning, and when IT returned, IT was out front talking with two individuals, suspects. Complainant 2 confirmed that IT has known the suspects for almost 6 months and has seen them on a weekly basis. Complainant 2 said the suspects hang out in an apartment in IT's building, smoking weed and playing game, and stated that the suspects have a large number of guns in the apartment. Complainant 2 said IT would hang out in that apartment and smoke weed with the suspects. Complainant 2 purchased a Glock 17 firearm from the suspects a couple of days prior to the incident. Complainant 2 said he had the firearm on IT, in IT's jacket, at the time of the robbery. Complainant 2 was able to further identify the suspects by their respective Instagram profiles, 666slime0, hereafter referred to as Respondent ZB, and 1 FrankB8, DeShazier. Complainant 2 was shown a single photograph from a law enforcement database of Zykeem Bryant, DOB, 09/27/2006, PDID 735604. And Complainant 2 identified this person as YungSlime, Instagram profile 666slime00. Detectives owed Complainant 2 a confirmation photograph depicting DeShazier from an MPD database. Complainant 2 identified this person as the person IT knew as Frankie, and as having the same Instagram profile as 1 FrankB8. On the evening of the armed robbery, Complainant 2 had returned from going to the bank and was driving a motorbike belonging to a friend of IT's. Complainant 2 reported that IT let Deshazir ride the motorbike prior to the offense. Complainant 2 reported that IT, as well as Respondent ZB and Deshazir, were out front on the sidewalk when Complainant 1 arrived from an Uber and walked past them before going inside of 2046 Fort Davis Street Southeast. Once Complainant 1 was inside, Complainant 2 reported that Respondent ZB and Deshazir demanded IT's property by brandishing a handgun. Complainant 2 reported that IT could see the grip and the magazine of a handgun in Respondent ZB's hand as he clutched it inside of his pocket. Complainant 2 said that Respondent ZB and Deshazir removed IT's black North Face jacket. Respondent ZB, after taking the jacket, walked with Complainant 2 as Deshazir got on the motorbike and tried to drive it away. When Deshazir was unable to drive off on the motorbike, he got off, and Complainant 2 got back on the motorbike. Complainant 2 reported that Deshazir yelled at IT to start up the motorbike, but Complainant 2 lied about how to start the motorbike and pretended to kickstart the motorbike. Simultaneously captured on video, Respondent ZB is identified carrying Complainant 2's jacket to his vehicle, which is also captured on surveillance footage, hereinafter referred to as the suspect vehicle, and placed the jacket inside. The suspect vehicle was identified by Complainant 2 as belonging to Respondent ZB and is routinely used by him. Respondent ZB is observed entering the suspect vehicle and drove in the direction to where Complainant 2 was with Deshazir and the motorbike. Complainant 2 is observed getting off 63rd the motorbike, and Deshazir gets on the motorbike but does not appear to move. Respondent ZB stops the suspect vehicle in the street. Complainant 2 reported that at that time, IT was assaulted by Deshazir just prior to him getting back into the suspect vehicle, which fled towards 38th Street Southeast. Complainant 2 reported that IT hid the motorbike in the woods so as not to be found by Respondent ZB and Deshazir. On June 26, 2025, Respondent ZB was located at 4073 Minnesota Avenue Northeast, Washington, D.C., and arrested. Respondent ZB was charged in reference to the articulated offense. Respondent ZB was identified and processed as the defendant, Zykeim Bryant. That's the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe.